can bet this will be a good show. Little preview of what we're going to talk about later. No crazy day for Italian football, but that's not what we're here for on the Calcio Guys. Adriano, Gianni, I'm Nicholas. Joined by two guests today, Ken from Far From Vesuvius and our friend Raffa from the Raff and Rat. Ken's our friend too. They're both our friends. Both. Thank you guys for joining us. How you guys doing?
Good. Thanks for having us on. I know for me it's been a while, but always happy to come on and chat with you guys.
Yeah, doing good, guys. I want to say before we do anything, congrats on the 200 episode a few weeks ago. Listen to the whole thing. Yeah, man. It was fun to hear some back stuff. I really liked the trivia game at the end of it too. That was pretty cool. You guys should do more of that. Actually, it was really good. But yeah, congrats, man.
Appreciate you.
Thanks. We appreciate that. I love coming up with quiz questions sometimes. I don't know if Adriano and Gianni enjoyed as much because I put them to the test, but I definitely enjoy doing that. But
I love quizzes. Quizzes are fun, especially.
Yeah, it's true. You're a teacher. Yeah,
of course. A teacher.
usually
pop quiz, hot shot.
Now he's receiving them.
It's funny because we were supposed to, originally it was just going to be Ken, and then, Raffa, last second, you said you were going to join us. So we're happy to have both of you on. We'll do, it's kind of a split episode today. We'll start with Napoli. Later, we'll talk about Italy because they play on Saturday and Tuesday, Euro qualifiers. But we'll start with Napoli. Couple of weird games lately. 4-0 win against Lecce, and then they go out, lose to Real Madrid, respectfully 3-2. And then go out and lose to Fiorentina 3-1 right before the international break. A weird season for Napoli coming off as defending champions. You could almost call it Scudetto hangover. 5th place now, 14 points, 7 points behind the leaders Milan, which is pretty crazy. I don't know who wants to start, Ken or Raffa, about just the start of the season in general. What have you guys gathered from this team?
I mean, I don't want to say that a lot of Napoli fans saw this coming, but I think we did ever since we got the appointment of Garcia. I think if you took a poll of Napoli fans, I'm sure you see it on Twitter, or even if you were in the city, you feel a lot of the same sentiments that a lot of us had, which was we weren't really excited with his track record previous. He obviously before he came to Napoli, he had a big blow up with Ronaldo in Saudi Arabia, and saw him getting fired. And then, we know him from his time with Roma. I don't think many people were excited, and then the results have sort of followed suit with that. So I think it's something we weren't really excited about to begin with, and then the results haven't been great. So now, I think before we had a couple of wins in a row before this week with Real Madrid and then the game with Fiorentina, but previous to that, the seat was already getting hot, and it sort of backed off a little bit, and now it's as hot as it's ever been. So I'll chill there and let Raffa chime in, but that's sort of where I'm at with Garcia as it stands now.
I mean, there's not much to add except possibly there's a lot more to play still. I certainly don't want to sound like I'm giving Garcia any sort of benefit of the doubt because I share the same sentiments as most people. I was not excited about the appointment. I did get on his got on his train, the Garcia train. You tend to try to support the people that are put in place to that you're trusting to take the team to the next level or maintain, right? You hear he's coming in and it's underwhelming, but then you think of, okay, well he beat Juventus in the quarterfinal of the Champions League in 2020 and then got to the semifinal. He isn't a bad coach. I mean, you recognize him from the Roma days. Johnny and you and I talked about it on the Rand a few weeks ago, right? It's very disappointing because we know we have the talent to do what we have done all season long last season, and we showed a glimpse of it, like Ken mentioned a couple of weeks ago when we beat Udinese Lecce. I mean, we beat them handily. We went from 2 wins to start the season, which were they were wins nonetheless. Maybe they were underwhelming. Maybe we struggled a bit, but we won the games. and you chalk that up to champions find ways to win, right? And then the underwhelming performance against Lazio in the second half, the really underwhelming performance against Bologna, the other draw that we had, and then against Genoa, where we had to come from behind. But we did come from behind. Give us another 5 minutes, maybe we win the game. You know what I mean? And then, like I said, we just blow up. And I'm convinced that there was a conversation. I think Kvaratskhelia came out and said we talked to the manager, and
Di Lorenzo as well too. I think
Di Lorenzo came out too. Yeah, and it seemed like things were going well, and just the thing is the in-game management. That's what it is. It's very shady. It's very shoddy. And you can kind of tell that there's something wrong. And I love how he put it down to tactics, or not. It's not tactics. It's a mentality. I doubt that 100%, because the tactics that we used last season are not that much different, and there should be no reason this team is not performing. And if it is mentality, whose fault is that? Whose fault is that at the end of the day? Exactly. Yeah. So it's just very frustrating, and I know that we may still have some time with this guy, and hopefully these players can just, despite him, win a few games. And at the same time, if they do, then maybe his spot is safe, and I hate saying things like this because I rag on a lot of people when they say it, but like, if we don't get good results, he's gone. And I don't want to risk keeping him long term, but I mean, I also don't want to drop results either. It's only we are 7 back, but it's only 7 out of a possible 90 points left in the season. It's still very, very early, guys. So I don't know.
No, and just like to kind of bounce off of that, I mean, you mentioned obviously his spot. That's kind of been one of the hot topics in Italian calcio right now is Garcia's spot at Napoli behind the bench. Listen, I'm not usually a fan of, like you said, Raffa, dropping a coach so early on in the season, because we are still early on in the season, like you mentioned. So only, what is this, match day going on match day 8, I believe?
Match day 9. We played 8, yeah.
Yeah, exactly, right? So we're
30 matches left. Yeah.
Exactly. So there is still time, but again, like, when do you stop the bleeding? It hasn't, for me, it didn't even start off on the right path, and that's just me looking from the outside in. Like, it didn't start off smooth. Like, there could have been a smoother transition. And again, he's back in Italy after a long time. It's new squad, defending champs. They have a lot of expectation now. From their squad, and I guess the question is like, and I know our boy Steph Cioffredi from Napoli Cup Toronto kind of sent us a question related to this, but if, and again, it's the big if right now, if Garcia does go and they do sack him, where do you see a coach fitting in, and who do you see fitting into his spot, and who takes this Napoli to the next level, like we all want them to be? Because listen, guys, this team had an incredible year last year. It's no secret anymore. Do they have the players? I still do think so. Have they lost some good pieces and some important pieces? I do think so. But is it solely on the coach? Is it really Garcia? Like where do you guys see, if he does go, who comes in and really can save the day? Because I know obviously the Conte rumors are pretty hot right now as well. But is that kind of the route that makes sense for Napoli? Just kind of want to hear your guys' opinions on that.
It's tough because, I mean, anytime you sack a manager, if you sack a manager in season, right, there are like, obviously most coaches who are apt have jobs at this point, right? The preseason is your time for you to find your coach, find who's going to be the next guy. And, for me personally, and you're kind of stuck, if you get rid of Garcia, you're probably only going to end up getting a placeholder,
Yeah.
If in a perfect world, I would get a placeholder for the season and then really go after Italiano next off season. I think that's pretty clear. That's who ADL wants, and I think Camiso basically told him to shove off when he tried this year. But that's the guy that seems to be the person who ADL is flirting with. I know there was a story from a few years ago that after at Italiano, I think maybe when he was still at Spezia, but they beat us and ADL sort of like found him after the game and was like, and sort of congratulated him, on a good coaching performance. I don't think that happens very often. So I think the writing is on the wall for ADL. That's who he wants. Is that who we get? I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of rumors right now, but it's hard to say like who would I want in the middle of the season. If it's not Conte, who I really don't think wants to come to Napoli, I think he's playing nice for the media, and I know that ADL has reached out to him. But for me, I think he's pretty much saying thank you for the offer, but I'm good. So, but I mean, I think at this point, most Napoli fans would say like anyone but Garcia would be great. I don't know. I don't know what the situations end up being or who ends up becoming available once the job opens up. But it's not good to be going into, by the time we get back to Serie A games the third week of October, and you're talking about like if every match we win or lose, the sort of coach's, destiny lies on every match, and it's not good for the players either, right? Because and a lot of it depends on what goes on in the locker room. We know based on last year that this group of guys like each other and they play for each other, and they have a captain who leads by example. And you can see when they score goals, like it's not like they're doing it and they sort of seem disconnected. I think the players still seem very connected to each other. But it's a matter of do they feel connected with the coach? And the biggest question mark for me has been with Garcia is like, and I think Raffa alluded to it a little bit earlier, is what's going on in game. Like the in-game changes and the in-game management has been really bad. You see like you're chasing a game against Fiorentina. You change your whole midfield and take off Osimhen and Politano, who are two of our better contributors. And like, what's the idea behind bringing on your backup striker? And that you ended up bringing on Gaetano, and you bring in Cajuste, and you bring in Raspadori came on earlier for an injury, but it seems very like we're just throwing stuff at the wall to see what happens, as opposed to like, I think it's funny because Osimhen did it a few weeks ago when he got subbed off. Like when we're chasing a game, why aren't we going with two strikers? I know Raspadori is like Raspadori is kind of a tweener because he's not really a number 9, he's not really a number 10, he's not really a winger, sort of a guy you can bring in to complement. But when you're chasing a game, especially in the Fiorentina game where I felt like Osimhen was isolated for a lot of the game, bring on another real striker and make them have to account for two people, right? They can't man mark both Osimhen and Simeone with the talent we have behind them. So to me, it seems pretty elementary, which is what's so frustrating to Napoli fans, because we know we have the talent, and it seems like even little things like holding back Natan for like the first month of the season, and then Juan Jesus gets injured, and this guy is like looks like a real player, right? He's come on and has been thrust into a really difficult situation for his first time ever playing in Europe, let alone like, he's just playing his first games outside of Brazil. Yeah. He's playing in the Champions League against Real Madrid and really playing well. That I don't think it's someone who wasn't ready. I think it's maybe a coach who just is not connected to this team from the get. And that's the scary part to me.
Well, I mean, I think you nailed it perfectly before. Like, I think going into the season, I think both Rudi Garcia and De Laurentiis knew that he was going to be the placeholder from the get-go. I think it was understood that way because you get blindsided by Spalletti's decision to take a sabbatical towards the end of the market, and now you're just scrambling to find somebody who can just, be a warm body. It's basically like you guys made the teacher joke before. It's what the teacher situation is in Canada right now, where they're just trying to find warm bodies to be in front of students. So I think that
anybody available, we can we can
pretty much. But I think it's also the fact that, I mean, just to give a little bit of defense to Rudi Garcia, it's like you don't have much time to learn the team, learn the players, you don't like scout ahead or just maybe look at old tapes or whatnot just to see their strengths, their weaknesses. You have to learn on the fly, and sometimes he makes good decisions, like putting on Cajuste in the in the general game. where he
Yeah.
just was part of
Assist
both.
right away.
Yeah, but assist right away in the secondary, the hockey assist in the second goal.
Yeah.
No, it was the hockey assist. Yeah, the Napolitano goal was the hockey
Yeah,
assist one.
Politano.
Yeah, but and then there's times where it's like you're scratching his head because he's subbing off Kvaratskhelia in the last minute of that game, the last few minutes of the game. When they're hot, and the guy needs a pick me up, and me and Raffa talked about this. So it's just it's a lot of head scratches and it's frustrations, and the players are getting frustrated, and it's just not an overall good feeling in the dressing room. And you would make it worse by firing Garcia, in my opinion. Like,
You think?
I think it. What other option is there in the market? People are gonna say Igor Tudor, and I'm like, okay, well,
No.
Doesn't entice
No.
Igor Tudor doesn't entice me enough.
But that's what I'm saying.
It's also not a guarantee. It's also not a guarantee. Like, let's say you guys do sack.
Selling your house
Rudi
before buying
Garcia.
another one is not a good idea.
Yeah, there's no guarantee like that by you doing that, by not making that decision, it's gonna automatically benefit everybody, and the season's gonna turn around automatically, and it's all gonna be perfect.
And don't forget,
it's-
if you fire him, you have to pay his salary, and you're gonna have to pay the new coach's salary. And De Laurentiis is not
one way or another. I think Napoli has to take a loss. So it's kind of, in my eyes, it's kind of like when they want to take it.
No,
that's
I don't think. I know ADL's he's a penny pincher, but he's not going to think about money in this situation. He's worrying about on-field results. But Johnny, like you said perfectly, you don't know, what's going to happen. Or Adriano, you just said it too. And I wanted to ask Raf specifically because you did say before, you don't want the losses to continue piling up. But do you think at this point, Ken, you said it, you're going to go into the third week of October, right after the international break. Now's not the time to be shopping for a new coach. You could start your Christmas shopping, sure, but for a new coach, no. And so do you think it's just, he's a placeholder coach? Do you think if they can't find anyone, do you think it's better just to write him out for the rest of the season, take the losses, finish 5th, 6th, 7th, whatever, and find a proper coach next season? Or do you think it's really like it's a bad situation right now?
No, I mean, I think it's a not if Rudi Garcia is not going to guarantee us Champions League football, then he's got to be out by the next international break.
Agreed.
And
Agreed.
And I'm not, again, I've said
So by
this
November,
before,
right? That's by
mid-November,
because realistically, and a lot of people on the various chats that I'm in want him gone now. Let's go now, do it now. They're in like this alarm mode. And honestly, we have a pretty doable schedule coming up, probably except for Milan. And we might be able to get some results in this month. There's some circumstances that with Conte, the rumor was we're getting him in November because of some sort of a tax break. After November, he's available for us to get a break in taxes. Then there was the Igor Tudor rumor where okay, so if Conte doesn't want to come in for a full season, we'll get Tudor and then maybe go after a coach after that. But to be 100% honest with you, if the results come, then you can't really sack him, right? Because you're not going to sack a manager that's winning just because we don't like him and like what he does on the field. What he needs to do is go back to that week that the guys talked to him. And what he did that week is what we need to do. Just let them be. Let them be themselves and don't make a stupid move like taking out Matteo Politano in the 57th minute, where on FootMob he had a 7.8 rating, okay, and created the most chances. The most chances in the match, Ken. He created the most 57 minutes, and nobody created more chances than Matteo Politano in the whole match. Like, why are you taking him off? Like, they had to sub off Zambo and Gisa due to injury in the first half, and they changed him for Raspadori, which I didn't really see a big deal in that. Okay, maybe they're putting in a little more attack. We're down. We want to get a goal before the half. Okay, he's going for it, right? But then you could definitely see visible. It was so visible. I mean, if you didn't see it, then I don't know.